Okay, let's look at this. So we start off with a 1 chord, right? Easy enough. Now, E flat, this is clearly an E flat major chord, right? So that would lead us to say, well, it's probably, oops, it's almost certainly a flat 3, right? It's a major chord. It's built on the borrowed scale degree 3 from the minor mode, which is lower, E flat. So flat 3. Cool. We'll stick with that for now. A flat, C, E flat. So this is probably flat 6, right? Everything is still true. Built around our borrowed 6 scale degree from the minor mode. Nothing strange there. G, G, B, D. That's clearly a 5. And C, that's clearly a 1. Okay. This works. This is an okay analysis. But there's maybe something a little bit even deeper happening here. Could it be that this 5 or this 3 chord is not actually a flat 3 chord, but is a 5 of flat flat 6? Does that make sense? So let's remember how secondary dominants work. Let's go here. So this is an A flat major chord. So what is the 5 above that? What is the 5 that would lead us to that A flat major chord? It would be an E flat major chord. E flat to A flat, right? So an E flat major chord could be 5 of flat 6, which would lead us to this chord, the minor 6th, borrowed chord, mixture chord, whatever you want to call it. We could strengthen that even more if we wanted to throw a 7th in there. That's a major 7th. So, ooh, what do we do there? Because in the key of C major, if we added a D, it ought to be D major. If we borrow from the minor mode, our D is going to be what? Still D, not D flat, right? So we can't actually make a 7th chord on this out of the flat 3 unless we get even weirder. Because if we lower that to D flat, we're now out of the range of mode mixture, right? Because that D flat is not borrowed from minor. We could say it's borrowed from Phrygian, maybe. That kind of works, but it's really not a mode mixture thing that we would do. So let's leave that off for now to not get more complicated. We could easily add a 7th, but it would be D natural, because D natural is D natural in both C major and C minor. And that makes a major 7th chord, not a dominant 7th chord, which is what I would want to have happen there. So let's leave that 7th off. But remember that this flat 3 can be functioning as a secondary dominant to the flat 6. Right, so that is a tonicization of the flat 6. It doesn't need to have the 7th to be a tonicization, to be a secondary dominant, and it doesn't need to stay on the flat 6 for all that long. In this case, it goes right back to 5, so the flat 6 falls down to 5 and then resolves to 1, just as easy. But we could stay on the flat 6 for a little bit longer if we wanted to. That would be totally acceptable and normal. I just wanted to get us back to 1 nice and quick. Let's hear it again. Right, so this chord does really kind of feel like it brings us forward to this flat 6, right? In other words, this chord sounds more out of place than this one does. So this one is functioning as a bridge, if you will, to get us to the flat 6. Right, so we could do this if we wanted to just even get weirder. Actually, let's do this. Let's take these two measures and let's put them here. Okay, so now we're going to go flat 6, 5, flat 6, 5, 1. Okay, so we're going to use this flat 3 to push us to flat 6. Then we're going to go 5, flat 6, 5, and then to 1. So we're just going to stick around in flat 6 a little bit longer. Let's see what this sounds like. So I think that works pretty well. You know, we can stick around on this flat 6 if we want to, because we've had that tonicization happen. Cool? Okay. Now let's talk a little bit quickly about how we need to analyze some of this stuff. I just want to remind us of some important analysis things and terminology and stuff.